Notice everybody else does that. Because we need to get it going for a few minutes anyway.
That's right.
And I want to pull it up on this screen. I'm not over here.
Scorcher out there today.
How's the mines, Sean?
It's been good, actually. I got a lot better airflow. Bought a bunch of big fans, so everything's been okay.
We are live. Hold on. I am making sure. Yeah. Now I can see it here. Say hi to the people out there.
And guys, I think maybe we should circulate this, the link to the rest of the board as well, just in case anybody wants to hop on and participate. I think that'd be a good thing.
Oh yeah, totally.
The link to the rest of the board as well, just in case anybody wants to hop on and participate. I think that'd be a good thing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
The link to the rest of the board as well, just in case anybody wants to hop on and participate. I think that'd be a good thing.
Oh yeah.
I think you got a loop, an echo loop there.
In case anybody wants to.
Are you hearing that, Joe?
That'd be a good thing.
Yeah. Hold on. I think I know what it is.
That's the show.
It's the Andy Warhol version. It's impressionistic.
All right. All right, everybody. We're back. So I'm just lost my concentration over here.
It happens because it's such a good day on the markets. You're just giddy. You're giddy, Joe.
All right, Crypto Chat Live. Down at the bottom of the screen, you got Sean Neal, Keith Carpentier, and me, Joe Flo Carey. Let's talk crypto. I've already put a little message up. Let's see if we can get our gang up here. So today in the markets, let's go to the first, the biggest thing everybody's all excited about, acting like the world is all better again. Bitcoin at one point almost hit 40,000, the biggest surge in weeks, up more than 10% in 24 hours. And at one point, within 15 or 20 minutes, it went up like 15%. A lot of
the good old days, right, Joe?
A lot of the craziness going on. And everything else pretty much followed, Ethereum, Aave, one of my favorites now, because I love the way it jumps. But of course, Sean, no predictions yet, huh?
No, I think I'm holding steady course on my my range bound. You may see some selling tomorrow. Frankly, I think that I don't know, 30 to 34 is kind of my target for end of August. So yeah, I'm going to stay there.
Keith,
yeah. I mean, come on, guys. It's so funny. We all get sucked into like the daily. I was going to say daily, and then Joe, like you're drilling it down to like hourly. The tick by tick. Well, it's just so funny. It's such a trader's mentality. Even if you zoom out and you look at the weekly on the bellwethers, Bitcoin and Ethereum, or even the monthly, like those charts look good. Like there's no shame in those charts. It's just you X out a little bit of that daily volatility. It's not so bad. And then, yes, you might say, well, it's still significantly off the highs. And that is true. However, it's not even August. You're at the midpoint of the year. There's still a lot of road to run. And guys, like let's talk about the elephant in the room. There's so much money sloshing around in the system right now, right? Yep. Looking for a home, waiting to get deployed. Like if a fraction of that money on the sideline starts moving in, like the gains could be like incredible.
Yeah. and you think about asset classes and dollars in the asset class, it's still tiny. I don't know, 1.4 trillion right now, but that's just such a tiny piece of the investment opportunity. So, we have 11% of people are invested in crypto in some form. And something like 40% of the people don't even know like what Ethereum is. Like, people have never heard of Ethereum. So I think we need to think a little bit outside of our own bubble and just think about other capital that's going to come in from the sidelines when this gets mainstream awareness.
I think more people know about Dogecoin.
Yeah,
absolutely. And Sean, to your point, to piggyback on that, I had read something the other day that just under $1 trillion has flowed into that traditional mutual fund ETF market just in 2021 alone. Like, it's phenomenal, the amount of inflows. So
it's all the money they're printing, right? I mean, there's just more M2 that has to go somewhere. It's not going to sit in cash because that's a depreciating asset. So. Yep.
Moving quicker from here. And looking across, I kind of laugh at this. Everybody looks at this fear and greed index, and one of the catalysts is it looks at CNN and different websites to see if there's positive or negative news on crypto. And I can tell you from the news world, we're generally writing something negative because you get more clicks on it than a positive. So, it's at a 26% even after the little spike. But the volume is still generally low compared to what it was 3 months ago.
Now, I don't have the statistic, Joe, but I'd be really curious to know, how broad-based the rally's been over the last, week to month. I know earlier last week, a couple of those pops, it wasn't as broad-based. It was really consolidated in the bellwethers. So I'd be really keen. I haven't dug too deep into it, but I'd be curious to see how broad the advance is with the smaller caps.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, I think everything was up 15% pretty much.
Green on the screen everywhere, huh?
Yeah, so that's the way it goes with this, right? I'm trying to get it up here. Even you go over to Twitter. Everybody's, this is an interesting one on Twitter. They wrote a whole story and they kind of looked through the charts to see if when Elon Musk and Michael Saylor tweet anything, what happens to the markets. And last time Michael Saylor tweeted something, the market went up 4.4%. Seems like Elon Musk is a little bit more powerful. I think he's a little bit more well-known. The market dropped, I think at the biggest time, 11%. And what is the legality? I mean,
it's wide open, man.
Yeah.
Yep. But it's it's like somebody's saying, I don't like corn anymore, right? It's an asset. There's nothing illegal about saying I don't like corn anymore. And so if Elon Musk traded I don't like corn anymore, right, tweeted that, maybe corn futures would go down, right? But that's not illegal. There's nothing wrong with that. So that's one of the main complaints, I guess you would say, of regulators. But you could tweet all day long about that stuff.
All right, next thing in the news, and I want to go over it, but explain that they basically are debunking the whole thing. A lot of people are claiming the market's up because of an Amazon rumor that they're going to start accepting Bitcoin by the end of the year. But Amazon just come out and said it's not going to happen. And it's because everybody started saying it was fact because of some random UK website that had an insider. You couldn't get away with doing this in news. We had to make sure we had some solid sources before we accept when you're CNN.
Yeah, well, Joe, I mean, isn't a lot of that, I think on Friday's Wine and Dine, we were all discussing this, that Amazon had put out, a hire for a very senior level position in blockchain and cryptocurrency. And I think that took everybody, a bit by surprise because, Amazon's the 800-pound gorilla, very centralized, like the complete antithesis of all of this. So to see them making a senior level move in that direction, everybody then plays, game theory and says, Amazon must be looking to accept Bitcoin.
Does that surprise you? I mean, it's a tech company, and I would have expected Amazon to be one of the first ones to come out.
Absolutely. How could they not? Like,
To me, it wasn't
regardless.
surprising.
Yeah. But it's that assumption piece of, why they're doing it. I think people might have got a little ahead of themselves with.
It surprised me when they released that job posting announcement because they've had hosted Ethereum for, I don't know, 4 years, something like that. You can go onto Amazon and start your own Ethereum, your private Ethereum blockchain as a service with literally with a few clicks. So they'll create all the full nodes for you. They'll create the miners. You can put in all your parameters. So they've been deep into crypto for many years already. So I was surprised to see that hire and didn't really quite understand where that was coming from. And I'm not sure that the dots can be connected to they're going to take Bitcoin or Ethereum for payment. And frankly, if I want to buy a blender, I'm just going to buy a blender. Like, I don't need to transfer my money into Bitcoin to buy a blender. Like, when Bitcoin is the wrong chain to be doing that on anyway, it's going to be a level 2, which is a centralized solution. We've talked about all those things about the 10-minute block time and those kinds of things. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense, honestly. So.
Yeah, I think, Sean, I agree. I don't think it's transactional in nature where everybody jumped to. I do think it's much more strategic, like what could blockchain mean for us or mean for Amazon? How could it upend their business model? Where are they vulnerable? I think it's a smart deployment of their intellectual capital and financial capital to get somebody on board there at Amazon, to give them good counsel. So,
yeah, but I don't see it I don't connect the dots to taking Bitcoin or Ethereum for payment.
But they're all going to have wallets, and they're going to be moving it all like PayPal. You don't think when Facebook brings theirs out, Facebook's going to do the same thing? They're all going to have a wallet, and you're not going to actually have your keys. I think it's all going to be no?
I don't know. I think you already kind of have that. There's already many ecosystems that have XYZ dollars. It's just a deposit. It's almost like a gift card or something, right? I'm not sure. That's more of just a shtick, right? That's a cachet to say, oh, we're on the blockchain. It doesn't really mean anything, though. You're not using the blockchain in the way it was intended. So
right, and Sean, funny enough on that end, obviously, it isn't a far stretch to see them come out with a big announcement that they're launching the Amazon coin, or something just to grab some great headlines and own the news cycle for 24 or 48 hours with something as simple as that.
Yep.
All right, let's go next. I'm looking to see. Let's see if we had any comments yet. I guess our boy is busy today at the bar. All right, our next story comes from Sean because he kind of hinted to the stock market being a Ponzi scheme in the last our last chat. And this story from publisher OX. U.S. dollars are created by a debt-based pyramid scheme fronted by investment-based Ponzi schemes with extra steps. Kind of, craps on the U.S. markets and,
Yeah, I thought the headline here was that graph that, I love it. The real purchasing power as a function over time has declined 96%. Since we, and since we went off the gold standard, it just fell in the gutter, right? So I think that it's just it's really interesting narrative about what your purchasing power is in the U.S. dollar and how it's just they're just printing money. Yeah.
Yep, at an unprecedented rate, right?
Yep.
And you don't feel it because it's that gentle erosion of your buying power. And it's not like it's a stock market crash where you wake up and the next morning, a percentage of your wealth is evaporated. This is much more subtle. Death by 1,000 cuts.
I think too, it reflects on the whole American dream, owning a house and those kinds of things. Where in the 1950s, if you look at the average wage to the average house price or the median house price, and you compare that to today, there's an analysis that shows the purchasing power is about 25%. So let's say if you were making say you were making $10,000 a year on average in 1950, and the average house price was $40,000. Well, now if the average house price was $40,000, you'd only be making $2,500 a year, inflation adjusted. So it's the housing crisis is just getting worse. And people are forced into renting and not building equity, not building wealth. So there's a real issue with purchasing power in general in the United States.
And this is what tries to push people more into crypto, and why it's a safer form right now of investing in some ways. What do you think when you see, was it Jerome Powell only 2 months ago was making it sound like, this is not a big deal.
Yeah.
Inflation's not really a big deal.
What else is he going to say, Joe? Come on. He's head of the Federal Reserve, for crying out loud.
True. Yeah. Oh, Pun is here. He's
in the house. Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I also think too, Sean, to riff on that a little bit, not too long ago, there was a whole anti-home ownership movement, right? And what did that do? That dissuaded, not to say a whole generation, but probably a large number of potential home buyers who would have bought a home and owned it and, basically paid off over time and had the asset. It was going to be a renter's nation. Nobody wanted the old paradigm of owning a home and building wealth slowly. No, that was out the window, right? And then the financial crisis hit, and then property values went up through the roof as all these people exited, the home ownership ranks. They get left behind, and then everybody cries boo-hoo. You're starting to see a bit of those same dynamics, from the talking heads, cryptocurrency. Oh, it's bad. It's the devil. It's super risky, blah, blah, blah. And everybody's talking their own book. I mean, make no mistake about it. And then the same thing will happen. The train will leave the station. Everybody will look back and go, oh, woulda, coulda, shoulda. And you just see it again and again and again. You live long enough, right?
Yeah, no, it's just these transfers of wealth, right? 2008 was probably one of the largest transfers of wealth from
there you go
middle and poor class to the upper class, right? It's just everybody lost their homes. Who was able to buy them? People with cash, right? Because you couldn't get a mortgage. So all these people with cash came in, bought them up. Now they're renting them. Yeah, prices are through the roof again, and all the people missed out on that appreciation.
Yep.
Yeah.
And as Punkcraft questions, is crypto still a possible value gain for the little guys, or have the fiat moguls gotten their hands too far in the pot now? It's still way at the beginning.
Way at the beginning. Very early.
Way at the
early days, Pun. Early days.
This is like Amazon being at $2. Yep. All right, what do we got next? Bitcoin. It's got its first update in 4 years. They reference possible, transaction fees being lower and possibility of smart contracts. But isn't the technology so much older, Sean, that you're only layering things? I think, was it John McAfee talked about how it's the Model T Ford. You still can't turn it into a Lamborghini. It's only going to be able to do so much.
So this overhaul, if you will, is Taproot. And Taproot is about privacy of multi-sig transactions, which are these ways of saying you need 2 people to sign or 5 people to sign or 3 of 5 people to sign. It's a little bit more of a complex unlocking transaction. I'm still not sure how many people are actually using multi-sig because it's really beyond the purview of smart contracts, right? So a lot of people say, oh, Ethereum has a virtual machine, you can write smart contracts. That Bitcoin has a virtual machine, and you can write smart contracts using Bitcoin. That's the Model T that he's talking about. You can drive a Model T, but why would you, right? Like you're gonna go for a modern car with airbags and automatic transmission and all these kinds of things, right? Bitcoin's virtual machine is a lot like comparing a Model T to a modern Tesla or something, when you want to compare that to something like Ethereum, it's not really a very full-featured virtual machine. So what they're talking about here is that people are going to write smart contracts on Bitcoin. I don't think that's going to happen.
You think they're doing that just to make it spruce, like to make it sound cool? But nobody's going to be writing smart contracts on Bitcoin.
No. So the people who were interviewed for that article are some of the core developers on Bitcoin, and they're referred to as Bitcoin maximalists. And so the maximalists are, these people who kind of like ab initio, Bitcoin was the first and the only. There's no better one out there, and it's going to do everything eventually. Taproot really doesn't have anything to do with that. So I think there's going to be more upgrades when you see things like on side chains, level 2 stuff like the Lightning Network and things like that. But again, those are not decentralized solutions, so it's not really in the spirit of crypto. So I agree with some of the other maybe more enlightened pundits, if you think of like Mark Cuban or even Elon Musk, talking about a value proposition of Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Ethereum has it hands down as far as what crypto is supposed to be. So yeah, I just don't see much happening with Taproot, honestly.
It seems like it's just a way to make it sound like it's cooler and newer, but
keep it in the news. Yeah,
keep it in the news. It's still centralized, and yep. All right, next one up I think is interesting because of how centralized Facebook is. But Mark Zuckerberg talks about the future of social media becoming a metaverse, and talks about Facebook focusing on becoming a metaverse. And that's a mix of reality and real world and virtual reality, right? I mean, that's one of your favorite things, with gaming and everything else, Sean.
Mm-hmm. I think, I think he's talking about this blending of
everything,
where you live and where you work and where you play as being kind of anywhere and everywhere, right? And I agree. Many people, gamers are defined by their achievements in some alternate world, and they find their friends or even their spouses or whatever, in these other places that are not physical. So that's just a natural extension of Facebook. So yeah.
It's interesting to me because he talks about the future of Facebook of being more decentralized. I do not ever see Facebook or Twitter with Jack Dorsey's saying he wants to decentralize Twitter. I don't see either one of those things happening. Almost like they're trying to use keywords right now to sound in.
So the value of a social networking platform is its users, right? And the data that the users willingly give up. So, I'm a white male in my 50s living in northern Delaware with 4 kids, right? So you have that whole package of things that I've told Facebook, and somebody out there wants to sell me something based on that package of demographics, right? So Facebook makes money by selling my personal information in aggregate through their advertising. When you decentralize that, you have nothing left, right? There's no more value to the platform. So yeah, I don't get it. I'm not sure how you would do a decentralized.
Because that was one of the things he quoted in saying that he wanted it decentralized. And Jack Dorsey on that Twitter one we looked at the other day, he wants Twitter to become decentralized. I just don't see.
If you have no filter, also like the centralization is like content moderation, right? That if I post something that's hate speech or whatever, that somebody's going to take that down or flag it.
Get blocked.
That's got to be a central thing. If I can just post any image or any text or anything I want, I can go hack some database and post everybody's username and password to some dating site or something. Like, who's going to stop me if it's decentralized? It doesn't work.
Yep.
Yeah, and these guys have billions of users, Joe, right? I mean, like, what's next? How do you move the needle? What's that next big idea? So I'm sure Zuck is looking at stuff like this for, the next big evolution, Facebook 2.0. But
I know one of the
I agree
rumors.
with Sean.
Yeah, one of the rumors is he was teaming up with Polkadot because they're trying to make a token.
There you go.
They're trying to.
But yeah, I mean, I agree with what you said. I think they're just glomming on that decentralized buzzword. But no, there needs to be, some moderator, some grown up in the room, or, you have access to that many eyeballs and, eardrums that somebody needs to moderate the content on some level.
Yeah, just be a hot mess.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, we just saw that right in January, like at some point, somebody has to moderate. It just, that's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
All right, Uniswap. A lot of people are upset about this. Uniswap delists 100 tokens from the interface, including options, indexes, cited evolving regulatory landscape as making the decision. But the big thing is they did not do a governance vote, and a lot of people are upset about this. And I mean, it's very clear. It was obvious that they needed to do something because of everything going on with Binance, and they didn't want to have somebody coming after them next. So they had to do something, but they should have went through the vote.
They took the D out of DeFi,
I like that.
It's no longer a decentralized exchange. I mean, the government's coming after things that are synthetics, mostly because of the FCA, right? So the UK government says anything that smells like an option or a future is illegal, and we're going to take you down. And so Uniswap said, "Oh, okay, we better take all these things that are synthetics off the market." But yeah, unilaterally decided it through somebody pushed the button to do that. That's not a decentralized exchange. I'm sorry. And it just highlights,
how big of a deal is this? I mean, this sets a precedence for other exchanges to do this. It's not like a Binance. They were,
Yeah, I think it's going to press decentralization more, right? So people will look for completely anonymous, decentralized exchanges that do not have a middleman. Obviously, Uniswap is still a middleman, and they're still making money off this. So people will look for completely anonymous ones eventually.
So Sean, actually, to question you on this, like, so how do these various DeFi entities manage the regulatory whack-a-mole, that's happening right now? Is it all up to the community, to vote, or is there not some governing foundation that has to have some seat at the table to say, regulation changed, like we have to adapt? Like what is that balance? Where is that tension between those two? Or conversely, what if the community votes no?
Well, none of these are community based currently, because it's all based on web servers that are centralized. So if I go to pancakeswap.com or whatever the address is, that's resolving through DNS to some server somewhere that some company owns. That DNS is registered to a company somewhere or a person. So if you want to put your finger on that person, you can eventually find them either through normal open DNS queries or through a subpoena or whatever. So you're going to find out who owns that DNS, and if you want to shut them down as a regulator, you can. So because these are web-based on-ramps, they're going to be centralized in some way and subject to that. And the operators of those sites are ultimately going to be responsible for whatever happens on them, including whatever regulatory enforcement may happen against them. So, the answer is to have truly decentralized. If you want to do these kind of things without the possibility of enforcement, have a truly decentralized one, something that is completely peer-to-peer with nobody in between. Atomic comes close to that. They have a piece of software that you can download, but you still have to download it from a website somewhere. Presumably they could, push that out everywhere. I don't know. But things like some of the things that we're working on with decentralized websites, meaning that every full node is a website, well, then you can decide if in your jurisdiction you want to operate that kind of thing or not. if somebody in Estonia wants to operate it, they can go ahead and operate it, and it's still it's still available. So, yeah. I think that's what's going to end up happening, is that these things are going to get pushed to more friendly jurisdictions. Estonia and there's no Macedonia, I think, is another one that's pretty friendly.
But people are still going to be able to access them.
Well, they're gonna block IPs. That sometimes it depends on how much effort. But when you have a decentralized system, when you have a decentralized web server, meaning there's no more DNS, there's no company to resolve it to. It's just 1,000 people running over the same web server. It gets pretty hard to censor. I think that's the evolution, I think. Yeah.
I know DAO Maker is one of them, and they can't do anything in the United States, but it's fascinating how they're trying to tokenize all businesses.
Yeah.
I think they're really a good leader in trying to tokenize businesses.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I think look, I mean, again, there's a place for regulation, but right now we have a lot of knee-jerk reaction too. So, it's gonna.
Well, there was a lot of scam coins on a lot of those things. How do you filter through those without regulating it?
You can't.
Yeah. All right, next up. What do we got here? I found this to be interesting because I really didn't know too much about this, and I wanted to pick your brain about it. And that is, according to this new paper, quantum computers could, in theory, use Shor's algorithm to break cryptocurrency encryption. But if they use a quantum defense, it would make it more difficult to use those cryptocurrencies. I didn't understand this as much, and I want to pick your brain on it.
So, the theory behind quantum computing, because it's still just a theory, there's no quantum computers, of any scale in reality. The theory is that you can very highly parallelize, any algorithm, because you're using, individual atoms to represent bits. We're talking 30 or 40 years probably before this stuff is potentially even reality at scale.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was working with these guys about 15 or 20 years ago, a couple of scientists out of California, and they were working on nanoparticle machines. So atomically precise machines, meaning that you arrange atoms in a certain formation to make something that looks like a gear, right? So you have all these carbon atoms, and you arrange them all in such a way that it's very static, and looks like a gear, it looks like an axle, it looks like ultimately an engine or something like that. And you can assemble these different things together. The most number of atoms that anybody's been able to arrange on any kind of substrate is something like 150 or something like that. And these things take millions of atoms to get all arranged together. And most of this stuff is done at like 10 Kelvin, right? So it's like super, super, cool, because in normal environment, everything is jiggling around because there's just so much ambient energy. So these things are not stable, at room temperature. So it's just not like nobody can position atoms to any level of scale anywhere close. The pico positioners are something like 50 picometers is how much you can arrange something around there, and they're just pushing around individual atoms. You need to arrange millions of atoms. Is
this glossing over our heads, Keith?
No, I'm just laughing because I like didn't the whole world have a conniption about the energy usage of a Bitcoin miner, and now we're worried about this? Like, give me a break, guys. You know what I mean? Like, this one can sit in the back seat for a little while. I don't think we have to worry about it.
Yeah, Sean, you can even read that comment from Puncraft, because that's above my understanding in some ways.
Yeah, it's just orders of magnitude way too slow to be of any threat. So, yeah.
Okay, so it's nowhere near.
It's clickbait, Joe. Clickbait. Okay.
Yeah, this is like Star Trek kind of stuff.
You hear about these quantum computing and all that, and you think they make it sound like it's closer than it really is.
Because quantum just sounds cool, like Ant-Man or Ant-Man and the Wasp, and just quantum anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I don't think it's a concern right now.
I'm going to jump over to this while we're at it. It is the other Ethereum proposal, 3675, that I was seeing a lot about today. Is about the staking and how this really could affect the price of Ethereum more than I guess I'm losing track. The other EIP 1559.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Have you? I don't know. A lot of people have been talking about this one today. Like it was newer in the news.
But impacting it in a positive way, or Joe, or a negative?
Oh yeah, they're talking about how it's going to impact it more because it's going to push people to stake.
Right.
Because you're going to be
This is ETH 2.0. This is his the proposal that says how are we going to do the merge. So some people are saying this is going to make it go up, and some people say it's going to make it go down. I don't know. I think personally, I think ETH 2.0 is going to be deemed an illegal security, and I think the Ethereum Foundation and Consensus are going to be looking at some enforcement actions next year because they just had way too much control of the project. No one can claim that this is a decentralized project anymore, and this is, by all accounts, a deposit. Right, you are depositing money and making a return. It's a deposit. So this is.
But everybody has staking. They're staking everywhere. How's this staking any different?
Because it's in the spotlight, right? I mean, these guys got a lot of press, right? Sure, a lot of other coins are staking, but they just haven't caught the attention yet. Let's say, right? So, I think with them doing this, they'll probably get enough regulatory attention that staking in general would become illegal.
And also, Sean, I mean, you got to talk about, the scope and the scale, right? Like how many stakers would Ethereum have versus some of the other smaller players, and that would be enough to, catch the ire of the regulators, or as you say, put them in the spotlight.
Yeah, it's already, I think, 5 million people are
really 5 million.
Yeah, 5 million individual accounts. It's about 30 ETH or something like that. About 6% of outstanding ETH, I think, is currently staked. It's a very significant number.
But once you stake it, you can't get it back that quick. Cardano, I think you can get it back monthly.
Well, you can't get it back at all, right? The ETH 2.0, you're stuck until they launch the merge, and then there's a phase schedule. And
as Punkcraft makes the point, it's true. A lot of this is based off the SEC and XRP situation. How that turns out, and it sounds like XRP might get out of this.
They're going to get out of it because that guy from the SEC made a speech, and that the SEC office contributed to the words in the speech or something like that. It's kind of a technicality. They'll just legislate something else, right? Like, I mean, they can't stop lawmakers from making laws. So I'm not sure that the outcome of XRP is interesting, but I'm not sure that it's definitive in terms of the legality of crypto, let's say, in general.
What do you think when you see the XRP community out there, very evangelical, and they believe that all banks around the world are going to be using XRP, and even the U.S. digital currency is going to be based on XRP?
Yeah. I'm not sure about that. Yeah.
Have you seen that though? Like they're a very they're another level up from the Bitcoin.
But just right below the DYNAMOCOIN team.
Yeah,
right. So that's what you were getting.
Yes, we got the hardcore.
Right, just right below.
Yeah. A lot of people in these ecosystems are really passionate because their thing stands for something that they've worked a long time on and has a lot of money invested in whatever. So, yeah, I don't think that Ripple is necessarily going to be anything like a mainstream fiat currency though.
So a lot of the world. See, I'm just hearing a lot of stuff from a lot of these social influencers, especially the XRP crazy, followers. So the world banks aren't going to be using XRP.
I don't think so. If anything, they'd probably use something like Bitcoin Cash or something that's more transactional on chain. I think a central bank would under its mandate have to use something that they control. It would be a private chain that they control because you have all the AML KYC issues.
Yeah, how could you be a central bank and outsource that responsibility and control? That doesn't make sense.
You wouldn't pass any Basel tests, so yeah,
No.
wouldn't work. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of something different here. All right, if you had to pick one thing on here to buy, not Bitcoin, I'm just going down the list of. I like Aave. I've been doing really well with that.
I'm in with Aave with you, brother.
Yeah.
I like
HBAR
actually too. This hash graph is very interesting. Yeah.
It's interesting because it's not blockchain, right?
It's distributed blockchain. So these guys have come up with their own technology that allows for multiple forks and very high transaction throughput. I'm not sure if it works at scale or not. I haven't followed their project enough to understand it completely, but it looks like one of the few really interesting novel implementations of crypto.
It's interesting because of all the hype I've heard about HBAR for a long time now. It hasn't pumped at all. Yeah. I think it was maxed out at 26 cents for a while, and that was about it. Nobody
understands what it does. It's too complicated. But once you get a use case, I think it's going to be off the charts. But yeah, it's one of those. That's 100x kind of thing. You could be worth nothing, could be worth 100. But it's an interesting project with a lot of real people behind it. It's a legitimate project.
There's one I followed for a long time that I'm kind of getting disappointed in was Cardano. They've delayed, I think, another 5 months again.
Mm-hmm.
And starting to wonder, when is this going to start moving? When are they going to actually do something?
Crypto is hard, man. It's hard to write. It's hard to manage. It's hard to deploy. I don't know enough about their team to comment, but
no, I would just because
they have a lot of delays.
You creating a currency, and with DYNAMOCOIN, you saw a lot of the struggles a lot of these other people have. What are the biggest challenges with something like a Cardano that you could see from an outside that would have them continue to delay?
I would think it's project management oriented, right? Because getting good developers for a company like that shouldn't be a problem. They should be able to get talent. So it's probably more a strategic issue, trying to figure out what the right design is, and then implementation and testing of the design is probably tripping them up. But yeah, I'm not sure on the exact internals, but I would guess it's probably a management issue.
Yeah, you've been watching that Cardano thing for a long time. I always feel like it's that donkey and the carrot, always trying to go down the road, and the carrot just keeps going with the donkey, never getting closer.
Can't complain because I got into it when it was 30 cents, so it's not like I'm hurting,
Yeah.
So it hasn't done badly. It's just a lot of the promises haven't come to fruition or anything.
And actually, Joe, let me jump on you a little more. Like, let's put it in a time context too. Like, what are we talking? 18 months? 20, still a really tiny amount of time for these things.
Yeah.
But I mean, they've been going 6 years now. And now some of the comments are, he was co-creator of Ethereum and couldn't make it in Ethereum, and now he makes his own and still can't, Interesting. I'm pulling for it. Yeah. I don't know. All right. Well, I think we've kind of went through our list.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Time flies.
Yeah.
Trying to see what else is up. Let's see anybody else. No other questions. All right. I guess we will do this again on Wednesday.
Go.
Wednesday. Work permitting or not, I will be here.
Cool.
All right, guys.
All right, gentlemen.
See everybody on Wednesday at 8 o'clock.
Until then.